Why didn't the bishops destroy the Bandito camp and capture all the Banditos when they found Clancy in the Levitate music video? That's an interesting question. I don't know how that would actually play out, right? You kind of need to know more about the world of Dema, and we only really have hints about this. Would they even be able to do that? Because there are a lot of Banditos in that camp, and so it's like 9 bishops against them. Yeah, maybe they could have. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question. I don't really have a clear-cut answer to that. My theory would be for the same reason that the Banditos are banished and not welcome back into the city. They're not trying to get the Banditos back. They're just trying to stop people from joining their ranks. But they don't really want the Banditos back in the city because they're worried that the Banditos would just convince other people to rebel and subvert them. Would they then just slaughter all the Banditos in their camp? Hey, maybe. But again, that's like imagining a part of the story that isn't there. We don't really see the bishops going out on murdering sprees like that. Like if they did that and didn't kill Clancy and brought Clancy back to become the propaganda piece that they wanted him to be in Skelenice, and he knew that the Bandito camp had just been massacred, or that word of that got back to Dema somehow, to the citizens there. That would sort of throw a lot of the power that the bishops have into question, because people will be very upset by that. Whereas again, like I was just saying, a lot of their control is a mixture of fear that they're instilling in people, and then also this false hope, right? This false comfort of like, this religion's really like, this is your home. This is what you know about. It isn't so much that you're just supposed to be afraid of us. It's that you're supposed to like us. You're supposed to like vialism. You're supposed to be here. You will be glorified. You have this glorious purpose. You have this hope, this aspiration to live up to in your life through vialism. And so they aren't trying to come across as completely just murderous and massacres, people who conduct massacres or anything like that. So I think that would be why, in at least one sense. So hopefully that makes sense. Why did Tyler say that the Bourbaki group named themselves after Blurryface? I don't think they did. I think Blurryface named himself after the Bourbaki group. As we see in the song Morph, he goes by Nico, right? He likes to call himself Blurryface, but he also goes by Nico. We see both of those concepts. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about which came first, but I mean, certainly, I don't think Tyler claimed that the real-life Bourbaki group named themselves after Blurryface, if that's what you're asking. Not sure how to link it, but the video is called The Truth About Nicholas Bourbaki, channel name 2 Pilots. Bourbaki group predates Taylor by a long time. He probably knew about it and found it fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clearly acknowledged at this point that he knew about the Bourbaki group and did a lot of research into them, and that played a role in what they did with the lore, for sure. So if he did actually say, verbatim, they named themselves after Blurryface, that would be a joke. What really, whether or not this is what he said in the interview or not, but what really happened is that he named a character, the lead character in the lore, Nicholas Bourbaki, the lead villain, I should say, the lead bishop, Nicholas Bourbaki, after the Bourbaki group. Why is Heavy Duty Soul all one word? It's how they stylized the song title. I mean, I think it's a sort of a type of soul, a name of a soul. I don't know. Name of a soul is a weird way of putting it, I guess. But, I mean, it is descriptive, but it's less supposed to be a descriptor and more of a title, I think. I think that's why. Clancy is more of a mantle than a name. When he's in a defeated mindset, he becomes Nico, and when he's ready to fight back, he takes on the name Clancy. That could be one way to look at it. I feel still on the fence about whether or not Clancy's a mantle or a name. I'm still inclined to think that the Clancy who's gone through the cycle number of times is still the same person, and he's stuck in a time loop, a recurring nightmare almost, because I think there are a lot of indications that that's the case, that it's all Tyler going by the name Clancy. And so it is a title in the sense that, yes, he then becomes Nico or the Nova Bishop or whoever, as we see it happen in City Walls, and he is no longer known by Clancy while it's still Tyler, right? So it is a title in that sense, but I don't think that necessarily means Clancy is a number of different people other than Tyler, in addition to being Tyler. Is the next Master music video part of the lore? He briefly wears the Clancy mask in the video. Yeah, that's a great question. And the car that is pretty clearly part of the lore is in that music video too. Yeah, I think that's clear cut. I think a lot of these are not clear cut, right? Something like Next Semester sits in both worlds, and I think it's supposed to do that. I think it's supposed to be there to kind of tell us that, yeah, this is about a very real thing, a very real moment in Tyler's life, a real world situation, but that's what the lore is talking about. The lore is a metaphor, maybe allegory is the right word, I don't know, for everything that the music's also talking about. The decision to include the Clancy mask in that music video sort of points to that. Is Routines in the Night part of the lore? Exactly. Another one. There's a lot of music videos, I think, in the Clancy album that seem to overlap like that. And I think, again, that was part of that point in the story where we were coming towards the end, where there was just a lot of Next Semester, Routines in the Night, Backslide. I mean, it's got characters like Ned and stuff in it. FPE was, I think, in that music video as well. Clancy as an album is a character study of the character Clancy, who's a character in the story. So it's kind of like, yeah, all the songs are sort of under that umbrella in a sense. They're all part of the album of this character who's, you know. Loved that Routines in the Night had 7 bishop robes, so many clues I didn't want to see. Very true, very true. Nico and the Niners are navigating both being track 9, coincidence. Nico and the Niners being track 9 is definitely not a coincidence. Navigating, that could have been part of the decision for making a lore video, maybe. Harry Perligo, I think you talked about this, but what do you think the boys will do next? A new lore project? Music like Vessel, perhaps Skill and Icy, or more like Dragpath? Probably not a lore project right away. Probably something more like a mix between Vessel and Skill and Icy. I feel like everyone I've actually talked to doesn't actually hate Skill and Icy. Maybe, or maybe they're just afraid to say it because it's like an unpopular opinion to dislike the album, but then it seems like a lot of people secretly dislike it. But then you get hated on for disliking it. It's definitely, you know, it's one that I would rank in comparison to a lot of their other albums towards the bottom. That's not exactly the same as saying it's a bad collection of music, but I do think the other ones are better. Or at least I prefer the other ones. It's interesting that Mark said the first time they played the line live was in Mexico City, but thought it was at the Game Awards. Well, they definitely played it at the Game Awards. I'm not entirely sure of the timeline there, but even if that came before, I think he probably meant in the context of a show like that on tour. Clancy's still trapped in an alternate universe. He gets saved. An alternate universe or just a future iteration? I mean, I think Dragpath, I've always thought this, that Dragpath is talking about a future version or cycle of Clancy that makes it out, but it's not the one that we see. It's not one that we're ever going to see. It's just something we're supposed to interpret and know and have this hope and see this hope for the future, but it isn't the reality yet, so that's why it's not presented to us. Why is the beginning of Dragpath the start of City Walls? That's a good question. I think my interpretation there was that it was supposed to just help solidify this within the story, to make the music video feel a little less random, right? I think it struck a lot of people as a random music video, or a random video to pair with that song at first, myself included. But I think there were things like that, and then a lot of this context that Tyler gave us, and also just the fact that there's a lot of Easter eggs throughout that video that tie into the lore that helped solidify its place within the 21pilots music video canon, I suppose. It's not a lore music video, that's not what I'm saying, but I do get your question, right? Like, beginning of Dragpath music video is the start of City Walls, but City Walls is the ending where he's defeated. So why is that part of Dragpath? I think it's sort of a pointer that this is an alternate ending, right? Like you're starting to go to the ending of City Walls, but we're actually going to this other ending.